If you've been following my videos recently, you know that I'm getting these two cars here ready for long cross-country road trips. This is a 1982 240D 4-speed manual W123 Mercedes, and behind me here is a 1979 300SD. This is the W116 big sedan. Well, to get these cars ready, it's not just they'll make it reliably. I want to make it so the trips are comfortable and worry-free. That means fixing things that aren't particularly going to cause huge problems, but will give you peace of mind. And one of these in the 300SD is doing a brake fluid flush. I've already gone through the brake system. The brakes are great, tires are great, but I want to change the brake fluid. And I've been putting this off because I don't really like doing it. It's kind of a messy job. And most of the time you pull all the wheels off, so you can bleed the brakes, so you don't spill brake fluid on the tires. It really isn't good for the rubber tires. And I was talking to Jerson about this, and we were laughing. We said, both of us do not like doing periodic, every 2-year brake fluid flushes because it's such a pain. Okay, we got to take all the tires off. So we decided to figure out how to do this safely and cleanly and spill-free without having to take the tires off. That'll save a lot of time. So we came up with another new tool. Take a look at this tool here. This is a 9mm specially designed wrench to let you get on those bleeder fittings with the tires on the car and bleed the brakes painlessly. Let me show you how this works. The problem with bleeding brakes with the tires and wheels on the car are twofold. Number one, you can see the tire sits quite a ways out from the bleeder fitting, so any spills are going to drip right on the rubber part of your tire. The other thing is the bleeder fitting itself is embedded down in there far enough, it's hard to get a regular wrench on it. If you try to get a box end on it, you don't have the room to move it back and forth. See that? You can hardly get it on there, and you can't get it on straight, and you'll probably round out that fitting. If you get the open end on it, you've got such an angle on it, it's kind of hard to work with, particularly if you have a hose connected to this to capture the brake fluid coming out. So Jerson went to work. I said, let's solve this problem. And he got back there with a torch, and we came up with a tool, as I showed you earlier. Now what this tool does is it takes and makes the handle of the tool easily clear the tire. You see that? You can move this in and out. You can turn it. Actually, you can go all the way from here down to here, so you can get about 250 to 270 degrees of travel. Now, when I'm bleeding my brakes, I like to open this fitting at least 180 degrees or half a turn. That will allow adequate fluid to move out into the capture bottle, but it won't open it up so far that you're getting fluid leaking out of the threads. Now, remember, we only provide this with a 9mm. Some caliper bleeder fittings are not 9mm. They may be 8 or 10. So you need to make sure that your bleeder fittings, and I say 80% of them are 9mm if you want to use this wrench here. Now I do want to caution you, because of the bend in this wrench, it's not designed for heavy torquing. So I put it on here and I try to just loosen it up, and it's really tight. And that's the case with so many of these bleeder fittings that have been on there for years. So I recommend, before you apply your capture bottle and before you begin the bleeding process, use a socket to loosen these up. We want them loosened up so they're not frozen, okay. And then I'm going to just reverse the ratchet and snug that back down. Now I'm going to put the wrench back on there so you can see just how well it works. I'll put it over here, probably straight up like this. So when I'm bleeding, I can now connect the tubing to my capture bottle, and I can open this up a full 180 degrees. See, it's dripping. I won't do that again until I put the bottle on there, but you can see how easy that rotates and closes 180 degrees without hitting the tire. So this makes the bleeding process very easy and actually quite enjoyable if you don't have to take your tires and wheels off. When I bleed my brakes or flush the old fluid out of my brakes, I use this capture tank along with my pressure brake bleeder. And what's nice about that is I can hook this up like this, see? And if you notice, I can still get the wrench loose there if I want to. I can actually get it past the hose. This is a special Viton hose which won't swell with brake fluid. So I can move it on over the hose, move it up into position like that, pressurize my tank, come back here, just so you know I don't have the tank pressurized yet, come back here and open this up like that, 180 degrees, and let the brake fluid pressure right out into the tank until I've got quite a bit in there. You can see it's just dripping out on its own. So I'm going to close that back up. I can pull the hose off. And look at that. If you really want to be drip free, I'll get a rag and just wipe that little bit of fluid off there. And then I'll go ahead and tighten this as tight as I can get it. If you're concerned about this not tightening, you can get your socket and come back to each one and just give them a little bit of extra torque, just like that, not too tight. And then we can put the dust caps back on and move on to the next wheel.